the obviously authentic channel. My name's Leah, that's spelled Lea and not Leah. And you are tapped into the fourth installment of Oh Have Y'all Seen? So we are going to be talking about the final part 4 of Evil Genius. Let's get into it. And I got my notes. I took some notes, so we going to get into it now. So it opens up with Cocaine Ken, aka Mr. Ken Barnes, and basically Ken decided he gonna snitch. He gonna tell on everybody. So Ken gets picked up by the FBI, and it looks like he was in prison, and he was actually in prison on drug charges for being a drug dealer. And Ken just basically, like I said, snitching on everybody. He said that Marjorie, Bill Rothstein, Floyd Stockton, which was Bill Rothstein's roommate, Bob Panetti, which was Brian Wells's co-worker at the pizzeria, and Brian Wells met at Bill Rothstein's house the day before the actual robbery to talk about the robbery. So this episode, or this final part, was really trying to figure out, was Marjorie complicit in all of this, and what also was Brian Wells complicit in all of this? Was he a victim, or was he a co-conspirator who turned into a victim? We just don't know. So this is what we're going to figure out by the end of this episode. So basically, we end up finding out that Cocaine Ken was the lookout. He said that Marjorie and him decided to stay at this place called Eaton in the Park, which was across the street from the Shell where they made the call to the police about a bank robbery or something, about like a bank robbery going on at the PNC Bank. Then it was beside like the Walmart, by the McDonald's and the In-N-Out. And behind the Shell was the PNC Bank. So at the In-N-Out parking lot restaurant, I said the In-N-Out parking lot restaurant, they Eat in the Park restaurant. Marjorie and Kim were sitting in a car with binoculars, sharing the binoculars, looking back and forth to see if Brian Wells had did the job. And they said Marjorie even said, Brian said Marjorie even said, like, it looks like somebody robbed a bank. And so when the police started to come, they hopped in the car and they dipped out. And they ended up going, I think, back to Bill Rothstein's house and switching cars. That's when we found out where the witness said that he saw a lady, Marjorie, driving on the opposite side of the highway. That really was Marjorie. Marjorie hopped in the car and drove on the wrong side of the road, trying to get back to, like, I guess the meetup spot where the tower was, or wherever they were supposed to meet Brian Wells to get the money. But as we know, unfortunately, Brian Wells never came. So we ended up that, and then we ended up finding out what Marjorie said about Jimmy, or James Roden, being dead. Because I think James Roden was also supposed to be a part of the heist as well. But we remember James was going to snitch. And Ken Barnes asked James, or Cocaine Ken asked James, asked Margaret, where's Jimmy, a.k.a. James Roden? And she said he was sick somewhere, but she had already killed James and put him in the freezer before they even decided to rob the place, basically. Well, no, okay, I think she killed him afterwards, but I'm thinking they're alluding, like, they showed pictures of Jimmy, like the freezer that Jimmy was in, and I think she killed him before they actually did the heist because she felt like he was going to snitch on her before then. And what we end up finding out that all of them did not want to get the death penalty. I guess in Michigan, the death penalty is still, like you can still have the death penalty. So that's why nobody wanted to be tied to the Brian Wells case, because he was killed. So that's why everyone was like, no, it's not tied. That's why Bill Rothstein was so, like, adamant about saying, oh, this doesn't have anything to do with the Brian Rothstein's case. I said Brian Rothstein. Brian Wells case. Same with when they interviewed Ken, and the same thing when they interviewed Floyd the first time. Everybody, and even Margaret, nobody wanted to admit, nobody wanted to admit to, like, Brian being a part of it because they were all afraid of getting the death penalty. The only thing that we don't know is like how Bob Panetti was connected to it because he died of a drug overdose. But they did say he was at the actual meeting that they had the day before about robbing the bank. Both once Ken started snitching, we ended up they ended up going to get Floyd, who was in prison on some sexual assault charges, and basically they both said that, like, so we're about to go down the rabbit hole. So I'm hoping that's why I got my notes to make sure I say it correctly. Basically, they said that Brian Wells was actually a part of the robbery, but he didn't know to the extent of what he was supposed to be doing. So they said that they all met up at the tower the day of the robbery, and they told him to deliver a pizza. While Ken says while they were eating pizza, Bill Rothstein comes out, so does Marge, and there is Floyd Stockton holding the bomb. They strap the bomb to his neck. You can visibly, everybody, Bill, Ken and Floyd both said that Brian looked uncomfortable and scared, and he tried to run away, but Ken and Marjorie grabbed onto Brian Wells, and Floyd strapped the bomb to his neck. Both Cocaine Ken and Floyd said that the bomb wasn't supposed to be real. It was supposed to be a dud. Like, it wasn't supposed to be real. They didn't know it was real because you end up finding out that Floyd actually had made pieces of the bombs to help Bill, but like none of his pieces worked. So he thought the bomb was fake. So did Ken. And so what everybody is thinking is that only Bill and Margaret or Marjorie, I keep calling her Mary Jo or Margaret, but Marge, we end up finding that Marjorie and Bill were the only ones that probably knew that the bomb was real and really didn't care about Brian. None of them cared about Brian, but if you had to rank it, it seems like Ken and Floyd didn't want him to die. Floyd even said he was scared after he put the bomb on Brian's neck because he felt like it was wrong. But when they were arguing and fighting Brian to put the collar on his neck, Bill actually took out a gun and shot in the air to get everybody to chill out. And so Floyd said after he put it on his neck, he started like walking and like serpentining because he thought he was going to get shot in the back while he was there, because he was just like, this was just out of pocket. Like, he didn't think this was what was going to happen. So we continue, and we all know what happens. Brian Real robs the bank. He ends up dying because the bomb goes off, and the case begins to go on. At like, the case starts to go, So this is when it started to come out whether or not Brian Wells was a co-conspirator or a victim. What the press and the media was running was that Bill Rothstein needed the $250,000 to settle some debts, because we know back in part 2 and in part 3 that like he had basically spent his ran through all his money that his family had like raised and accumulated, and his siblings were pissed off about it. Marjorie wanted to kill her father and was going to pay Ken Barnes, a Cocaine Ken, for killing her father as like a hitman, because he was going through her inheritance. That's what she felt like. And she felt like PNC Bank robbed her or wronged her because they allowed the father to take out some money, which I was like, they wouldn't let him take out money unless his name was on the account. So in what way? I don't know how she thought he robbed her. That's Marjorie's problem. Everybody can't be wronging you, ma'am. You got to do some of the wronging. So basically, it's been like 4 years since the pizza bombing, and with Ken and Floyd's confession, they basically start coming for Marjorie, because now they're like, Bill Rothstein is dead. He died of cancer, and these two guys are in jail, and they're trying to make deals and trying to do what they got to do, what they do, and They trying to, like, the FBI wants to close this case. Like, a man blew up, so like they have to close this case. The family is Brian Wells' family is angry with the prosecutors because they had a press conference. They end up saying that Brian Wells might have been a co-conspirator, and the family feels like they're lying and tarnishing his name. I think the family is still mad about them chopping off his head, and they couldn't have an open casket because the brother made mention on his, like, I guess on a press conference that they showed in this part 4 that, like, he was dead for 19 hours before they decided to cut his head off to get the bomb off. And I was just kind of like, well, it's not like they were going to let them put Brian in the ground with the bomb around his neck. That would have been horrible for them to do. I feel like there was nothing really short of them taking the bomb off his neck intact for the people to be happy. Like, they couldn't get it off a regular way. They couldn't, like, let him go in the grave like that because we don't know. They didn't know if the bomb was going to react and then blow up the cemetery. And then you got open dead bodies, which is a health hazard. And you could kill other people who are there to visit their loved ones. So I understood their anger, but I think he was a co-conspirator. I don't know, because, like, the fact that they had someone saying that he was at their house the night before, and they said that person was a very viable witness because they almost hit him and they directly looked at him, makes me feel like he probably didn't know as much as he was supposed to, because, like, Jerry Clark and Jason Wick are the 2 FBI agents we end up seeing throughout the whole entire, is it Clank or Clark? No, I think it's Clark. Are the 2 guys, the 2 FBI agents we see throughout the whole entire 4-part series. And they basically are like, they got, they had to get their witnesses and the prosecutors together, but it seems that he might have really been a co-conspirator. Marjorie was pissed. They go back to the Zoom meeting she's having with her lawyer, and, like, she won't let the man get a word in edgewise. Like, she is just, like, going off, talking cash money trash about the 2 FBI agents, saying the media is saying that she's a mastermind and, like, she's diabolical, saying that she's gonna be happy when Kim Barnes and, like, Floyd died because, like, they lying on her. Like, she just felt like she was wronged in so many ways. But it just seems like, Marjorie, no, baby. Like, you was a part of this, bruh. Like, she don't want to cop to it. Like, she went to her grave not copping to the whole thing. Terry, we know Terry is the film director and the guy who is corresponding with Marjorie. And basically, he says that Marjorie became more erratic and more anxious and, like, stressed out as the media kept portraying her. And in order for her to, like, she ended up getting a trial, but they had to make sure she was mentally competent for the trial. But they said, a judge said she was unstable after they did several evaluations with doctors. So she was just going through it. They ended up actually showcasing the lawyer that helped her get off on her first murder case with her boyfriend, where they said that he was abusing her. And I wrote down what he said, but he basically said Marjorie was his punishment on earth. And I said, yo, like, what kind of experience did you have with this lady that you felt like she was your divine punishment? And what did you do in your life that made you feel like you deserve to be punished in that way? But basically, he just said that I wish the lawyer was in this documentary way before then to shed light on her mental health, because yes, you can say someone is erratic and unstable and aggressive, but, like, him actually saying that, like, she had to brush her teeth 32 times a day, not 31, not 30, 32 times a day. He had her committed 4 times throughout the trial, and she would stay in the hospital for a little while, and then after each time she got out. And he was just like, if they would have kept her in there, if they would have had her committed, then this would have never happened. And I think that would have been so much more information in the first two portions as to explain, like really showcasing like her mental health, especially with like her friends saying that like when they were hanging out, like the day after she had to hang out with her, she needed to take a break because Marjorie was a lot. And basically he just said that she was a lot. Like it just seems like Marjorie's just a person that's just a lot. So Marjorie ends up getting a trial. They actually called the trial Lake Erie's Trial of the Century. And that was after she was on psychiatric meds for a while and that she got cleared by several doctors. So she had to take her meds and make sure she was all the way there before she did this trial. So it's the day of the trial. She's excited. She was happy because Floyd, who was supposed to be there to talk against her, didn't come. So because Cocaine Ken and Floyd decided to give the prosecution information about Marjorie and the FBI, Floyd ended up getting a less harsher sentence, and he was out free after he served his time for his sexual assault charge. They said he was living somewhere up in Washington. I guess he married, which I don't know. And then Ken is still in jail. I don't know if he's still in jail to this point, but while this was filmed, he was still in jail. And I guess they said he got like a lot of time, like at least like 10 or 15 years off his sentence for him being a drug dealer after he gave information about Marjorie. So she was pissed because she felt like, of course they're going to give you information if you're promising them all this like you're promising all these bonuses to go against me. So it's October 2010. So that means it's been, because this happened in 2003. So it's 2010. So this is 7 years after Brian Wells was killed by the bomb and and the bank robbery and with the frozen murder death. So basically, Terry decides to go to the trial, the filmmaker, because Marjorie asked him. And she made mention when Terry was sitting behind the prosecutors. So we could tell Terry's on the prosecutor side. Like, he thinks Marjorie did it, but like, for some reason, he still has a relationship with her. She told him to bring his behind to her side because he was on the wrong side. And Terry got up and went to her side. We end up meeting Kevin John, who is basically a courtroom artist, the guy who does like the chalk art of the courtroom, and he says she gave him chills. But after Marjorie got on the stand and spoke, a lot of people thought it was gonna condemn her or make her case harder, but it really didn't. People actually felt bad for her as she spoke about like the abuse she suffered as a child, which I was like, sorry y'all, I feel like they would have said that sooner, so I felt like that was a lie on her part. But she said that she suffered abuse as a child. They had Jessica Hoopsick, the one we learned about last part 3, the prostitute, or Brian Wells' favorite prostitute that he hung out with. She spoke about, like, she took the stand and spoke a little bit. She was supposed to meet up with Terry, because he wanted to interview her. They were supposed to meet at the docks, but she never came. I did make mention that she had her signature on her phone when you could do signatures on your phone. #1 white girl. That says a lot about you, ma'am. That says a lot about you. Just want you to know that. So she didn't show up. Marjorie, there were 10 testimonies against Marjorie. So the prosecution came in there ready to like put that lady in jail. And she ended up being found guilty. And basically she was guilty of conspiracy to commit bank robbery, conspiracy of like, I guess, death by a dangerous device, and some other thing. And basically Marjorie says she gonna appeal, but she got sentenced to life plus 30 years. So she ain't never getting out. So yeah, Marjorie ain't never giving out. And like a lot of people said, they even bring back her friend. The Susan chick who said that made the comment that she met at the orchestra, or who was in the orchestra with her, who was like, she was just so smart and beautiful, like she wasted her life, which she did. As smart as Marjorie keeps saying she is, she wasted her life. There was no need for her to do this. Like, you keep saying like you win cases and you were smart and you were this, but you wasted your life, sweetheart. You wasted your life. So as time goes on, Terry still has a relationship with Marjorie, even though she's been sentenced. Now it's like 2013. We end up finding out that Ken is still in jail. I don't know if he's still in jail now, but he likes being in jail because he's clean and he's sober. And he was always high every day, but at least in jail he's not high. He's getting fed. He gets his medication. He's cool and he's good. We know Bill Rothstein is dead. He died from cancer. Bob Panetti died from a drug overdose. Floyd got out, and he moved over to some middle of nowhere town in Washington State and don't want to be bothered. And then that brings in Jessica. So Terry ends up asking Marjorie on the phone about the Brian Wells case after 3 years of the appeal. And the reason why he felt comfortable asking her about if Brian Wells was connected to the case is because he felt like Brian Wells was innocent and was just a victim. And Marjorie got mad at him because she lost all her appeals. That's why Terry, the filmmaker, felt it was okay for him to ask those questions like, hey, like, is Brian really a part of this? Because all her appeals got rejected. So she's going to be in jail for the rest of her life. She's going to die in jail, basically. And she got pissed and was like, yes, he was a part of it. He was a 46-year-old F-up. He needed money so he could be with his crack whores, which I was like, I could see that. But Terry really doesn't think Brian was a part of it. So we continue this part and we end up finding out that Jessica gets arrested on drug charges and sent to the exact same prison that Marge got sent to. And they end up exchanging words. Marge calls Jessica a lying crack whore. Jessica says Marge is lying. Then Jessica gets out and she ends up, I guess, spilling the beans or giving her side of the confession, where she says Brian Wells was not a part of it. But I have my thoughts and I'll talk about my thoughts after that. She basically said that Brian Wells was innocent. He was a nice guy. He became a family friend, would take her to doctor's meetings, take her grocery shopping. They had a relationship. Even though she was getting paid to have sex with him, she said they had a special relationship. It wasn't love, but like it was something there. And basically, she was at Ken Barnes' house. Ken asked her, like, they needed a gopher. So they basically needed Brian Wells to be the person that they could get to rob the bank. He said he would give her $5,000 if they could find someone for her. She gave them Brian Wells. She wanted some money. Like, she said she needed some money so she could get high because she had been high for 3 days. And basically, I think they gave her like $1,500, and Ken gave her some crack, and she was chill, and she brought them Brian. So basically, they say Brian Wells is innocent. They also, so when Terry got this information, Marge found out that Terry was talking to Jessica. She was pissed with him. He ends up calling Cocaine Ken while he's in jail. Kind of stumps Cocaine Ken because Ken kind of puts himself in a tongue twister where it kind of like he said Brian was there, but Brian wasn't there. So something wasn't right. So it kind of made allude to maybe Brian was innocent. So basically, the story kind of ends with no one really knowing everything. Like, one thing they said is that the only two people that really knew what was going on was Bill Rothstein and Marjorie Dale Armstrong, which is facts. Because Marjorie knows who wrote the note, Marjorie knows who made the bomb, so does Bill. And like Terry said on the voiceover, Bill went to his grave knowing everything, and he still didn't rat out Marjorie. He kind of did, but he didn't give people solid evidence or proof to say that she was the one that that was the mastermind for all of this. Marjorie ended up dying in 2017 in prison in Texas of cancer. Jessica ended up having a baby right after the heist, and she thinks that Brian Wells is the father because the little boy, I don't even think it's a little boy. She just says the child, they didn't say if it was a boy or girl. They just said the child resembles Brian. All in all, I think this was a good documentary. I think the way they weaved the story was good. I will say, like I said, I wish they would have added the lawyer sooner. I feel like getting his perspective on working with Marjorie and how that was working with that client would have gave more insight to who Marjorie was and how the outside world probably should view her. It seems like Marjorie was manipulative and had a stronghold on many people. Like one of the reporters who was reporting during that time, he said Bill Rothstein was the only man that we know of that was with Marjorie that didn't die. Marjorie's husband died of some weird circumstances. She killed both of her boyfriends, and then she was with Bill, and Bill never died. They just stopped being cool. They broke up. So basically, like I said, Marjorie went to her grave saying that she was innocent. We know she wasn't, but I mean, if she felt like she was innocent, she felt like she was innocent. I somewhat think that there's a lot of gray when it comes to Brian Wells. It's sad that he passed away, like he died in such a manner. And it's sad that his family could not grieve him or see him before they put him in the ground the way that they wanted to. Death is like an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people. And it's also the way he died was just messed up. But I feel like maybe he was a part of it. The fact that someone saw him at the house the night before, and we don't know, maybe he was like, it's like I said, it's great. We don't know if he was delivering a pizza that night and like that's why he pulled out, or he was there all day at Bill Rothstein's house and was like conspiring with them and like, yeah, we're gonna do this, this, and this. Maybe he didn't know that they were using him for the bomb. Like one of the FBI agents said, Bill Rothstein and Marjorie probably compartmentalized Cocaine Joe's involvement, the Floyd's involvement, and Brian's involvement. But what I do know, I do feel that he still was a victim because he didn't know that the bomb was real. Because he wasn't taking it seriously until he heard the beeping. So there has to be lewd that he probably was a victim. He probably did agree to do it, but didn't know that this was going to be the severity of the situation where he would lose his life. Or it could be the other way around where like they did ambush him and he got caught up and did what they had to do, did what they told him to do. I wish he would have went to the police. Like first things first, and that's the other part. He didn't go to the police after getting jumped with the bomb strapped to his neck. Like that would be the first place I would go to, would be the police. Like I wouldn't be going to rob no bank for no keys. Because my thing was like, if he would have went to the bank, to the police first, they probably could have used the bomb squad to get it off his neck. I don't know. I do think it was a good documentary. I'm excited. There's another documentary series coming out about, I think it said Murder on Mormons or Murder of Mormons. I don't know. It looks interesting. I do think I might be doing a review on the Cecil Hotel documentary that just came out on Netflix. But if you enjoyed, please drop down in the comments. Let's discuss. I hope you enjoyed the first 4 episodes of Oh Have You Seen? Thanks for stopping by and liking and commenting if you want to. And like I like to end every video with this: be bravely authentic, because there's no point for you not to be yourself, because you're amazing. And that's just that on that. Have a nice day, nice night whenever you see this. Deuces, y'all.